To open the July 13th, 2020 Conservation Commission meeting. It's going to be held on a Zoom situation, and I was hoping Amy would be kind enough to read whatever the procedure is.
I will. The town of Littleton began conducting remote participation Zoom meetings pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law on March 19th, 2020. Since that time, unanticipated legal concerns related to the open meeting law have been brought to our attention by the town clerk. Those concerns were supported by the Attorney General's office and confirmed by town council. One concern is that the chat function allows a parallel text conversation to a board's public meeting. Chat is essentially running commentary that is occurring, but it is not moderated or followed by the chair. All participants and listeners may not be aware of comments being made because some meeting participants join by phone and do not see these conversations. Another concern is conversations between residents within the chat room which are not incorporated into the public record. In response to these concerns, the town will implement the following changes, which in no way prohibit the public, any member of the public, from participating in discussion and sharing information during a public meeting, and will ensure that all listeners and participants have equal access to this meeting. People that join the meeting are set so their microphones are muted. If you call in by phone, please use *6 to mute or unmute your phone. So the meeting can occur in an orderly fashion. We ask that people who join keep their microphones on mute so background noises do not interfere with the meeting. If you wish to participate in the meeting, please use the raise your hand function available on Zoom. Or if you called in by phone, dial *9, which will activate the raise your hand function. The meeting host will notify the chairperson of the raised hands, and the chairperson will determine whether and when to allow public comment. When called upon, participants should unmute to state their name and address. After speaking, we request the participant return their microphones back to mute. All yours.
Okay. We would like to approve the minutes for June 29th, 2020. Anybody got any additions or corrections or comments?
They looked good.
I have one, and it's just, is that I'd like to see Sarah's name with a vice chair behind it, if you don't mind. I believe that's what we discussed in the past.
Yep, that's easy.
Or is she co-chair?
Or whatever. She can be that too.
I'll tell you what, once she's sworn in again, you guys can all re-vote your chair and co-chair or vice chair, whatever you want.
Okay. Anna, you got any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes? Is there no further discussion on them?
So moved.
Do you hear a second? Kyle?
Second.
Hey, Kyle. All those in favor? We have to do a roll call vote.
I can't vote, so don't call me.
Yeah, do you want me to
Yep.
Yep. Do you want me to do a roll call?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Jim.
Yes. James Pickett, yes.
Carl.
Carl Melberg, yes.
Kyle.
Al Maxfield, yes.
Andrew.
Andrew Samarco, yes.
And Julie.
Julie Rupp, yes.
And Brian, you can either vote or abstain, whichever you feel comfortable with.
I'll abstain for now. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Well, welcome,
Yeah, I
Brian.
was gonna say,
Welcome.
I don't know where he is on your palette, but he's in my lower left corner. Your newly sworn in commissioner.
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I suppose we should go around and introduce ourselves. I'm James Pickett. I've been the chair for a while. Carl, somebody?
Carl Melberg. up in the top left next to Amy. Nice to meet you.
I guess
Carl,
everyone,
Oh, go ahead, Anna.
everyone has a different view because Sarah's next to Amy. Oh, maybe if I go full screen, it's different. All right.
You go to the commissioners.
Yeah, Anna Mayer. I'm a former commissioner. I'm as of last time.
Sarah? Somebody was going to introduce
Kyle
themselves?
Maxfield.
Julie?
Oh, it looks like Kyle's going.
Yeah, I'm Kyle Maxfield. Nice to meet you, Brian. Welcome.
I was mostly piping in to let Carl know he's in my upper right-hand corner. So you get the stink eye from that direction. Julie Rupp, we emailed earlier. Welcome.
Hi, Brian. Sarah, I look forward to working with you
Yeah.
when I'm actually back on the commission.
And hi, I'm Andrew Samarco. Welcome aboard. I don't know where I am in relation to all the other boxes, but welcome aboard.
Well, everybody's got the correct name, so that's pretty good.
Okay. I guess we'll go along to the Conservation Commission Associates. You see on the list here? Amy?
So that's pretty most of what you just did.
What's that?
Yeah, that's mostly what you just did, and I didn't know if you wanted to elect Anna as an associate. And for tonight, Sarah was not sworn in, so she is not a commissioner right tonight.
So what's your pleasure, folks? You want to keep Anna on as an associate? As long as, I guess, as
Yeah,
long
on
as
as
you're in
associate.
town.
Yeah, I like that
I-
idea.
Yep. I would like to keep, I would love to have Anna as associate.
So do we need a motion?
Yeah.
We need a motion.
You're- To send a recommendation to the selectmen.
Oh, okay. So I'll make a motion to recommend Anna as associate commissioner to be sent to the selectmen.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? I guess we go through the
All
roll
right.
call again.
Jen?
Yes.
Carl?
Carl Melberg, yes.
And Kyle?
Kyle Maxfield, yes.
And Andrew?
Andrew Samarco, yes.
And Julie?
Julie Rupp, yes.
And Brian?
Brian Crowley, yes.
Okay.
Sarah, do you want to just say yes or what have you? I mean,
She hasn't got a say in it right now.
okay.
So I sent an email down to the Board of Selectmen. They're voting tonight, I think. Like, hopefully, after we are adjourned.
Okay. Looks like Stephanie Mullen, Eagle Scout, is next on Scout benches.
Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, my name's Stephanie Mullen, and I am a Life Scout in the new Girls Troop in Middleton Troop 19. And I'm about to start working on my Eagle Scout project. And for my project, what I'd like to do is make benches for conservation lands around the town. I'd be willing to make up to 10 benches, and they could be for really wherever you would like to put them. I do have some ideas.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. You're breaking up a little bit. I didn't hear exactly what the project is.
It would be building benches for the different conservation around the town.
So I had showed you a picture of the benches at the last meeting, and I think the main comment was that they should be stained, not painted. And I will take this opportunity to say that my laptop bit the dust about an hour and a half ago. So I can't get access to anything right now. Otherwise, I'd show you another picture of the benches, but I don't have it.
Okay.
I thought I did.
Do you have some idea of what areas you want to put the benches?
Yes. Some ideas that I had were by Lookout Rock on Oak Hill, in Bumblebee Park by where Mia Corelli is putting her pollinator garden. A few around the Nagog Orchard for when people are apple picking. Maybe by Fort Rock at the Yap property. But really wherever you all feel a bench could be needed.
How do you propose to anchor them to the ground so they don't get picked up and tossed?
I haven't really thought about that yet. But that is something I will think about.
Okay, that would be I think it's a good idea. I'm afraid if it goes up to Lookout Rock, it's gonna end up going off the end up there. But
well, I know that we put in benches around the lake, our lake association, and they had to pour like a concrete pad, and they're attached to that. So that might be something you want to look at or see if that's something you want to do.
Definitely.
Stephanie, you can also look at creating a pressure plate, so it's something that each leg can sit into. I agree that they may end up going away, but I also think that we want to look at something that's fairly non-invasive to that land as well. So I would encourage you to kind of look at that, and certainly you wouldn't want to put the wood right into the ground because it would rot, but you may want to look at somehow putting it into, they're usually almost like a metal cup that can sit into the ground, get harnessed in, and you can lag it into that. So if you need kind of like a picture or something, just email me. I'm happy to help you with that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also, I had the impression that were the benches made of the like engineered plastic,
It would be pressure treated wood.
Pressure treated wood. Okay.
I'm not sure, Stephanie, if you followed, but pressure treated right now is in scarce commodity right now. So that's something you're going to have to look at your pricing and availability.
Yeah, you might consider making it out of recycled plastic. That's what the benches are around the lake.
Yep. Or a wood like a cedar that's resilient.
I think.
Although cedar is very expensive too nowadays, I think.
Yep.
What about mahogany? We had one of those metal benches redone here at the farm, and they used mahogany on it, the cross slats, and that's supposed to be more weather resistant than some other woods.
It definitely doesn't have to be pressure treated wood, and I'd be definitely open to suggestion about what type of wood to use or what type of material.
I think you just probably got to research what's available and see what maybe be a combination of woods too.
Also, you might want to look at the environmental life cycle of the materials, because forgive me, Jim, but I think mahogany, I don't know, maybe they do grow it environmentally, but it is a rain or tropical wood that may not be environmentally harvested, but maybe you could find it.
The other one is southern yellow pine. That's another one that would last for quite a while, if you can find it. I don't know. It's like I say, you're just gonna have to research it and see what you can come up with. That's the best I can tell you. So what other information are you looking for from us?
Really just approval, so I can talk to the committee for my troop so I can get this project going if you're all approve of it.
So that means that there should be something written that you can either give to us, that we can either do a DocuSign on, or something in the past where somebody's had to sign off on it. And I guess maybe you should have a vote from the board as to they were willing to go along with this concept.
Yeah, I think, and maybe nail down the locations, perhaps another time. Nagog Orchard is not controlled by the Conservation Commission; it's controlled by the Select Board.
Okay.
So that's either an extra step there, or there's the area that's sort of attached to the orchard that had just been cleared of all the invasives. And there's a nice tree knoll in there that maybe could use a bench.
Okay.
We might not come up with 10 spots. I'm not sure if people have other ideas too.
Is there something at like at some of the parking lots, like Cobb's? Does Cobb have an area at their place where you might want to put a bench or something? That's just off the top of my head. And how about down to the park we just did down on 2A?
Yeah, Cloverdale has 2 benches already.
Okay. I don't think there.
If somebody donated.
I don't think there are any up at Harvard Road yet.
And maybe on top of the Long Lake Park, like in that meadow there. I don't know. Be possible.
It might be tricky, like mowing wise, though.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Previously, though, I think I'd seen it in somebody's email over at Long Lake Park on the Red Trail, the Taroni Loop Trail. That's a prime location along the lake shore to put a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely 2, like on either side of the foundation, kind of spread out, but who knows?
Oh, in the Prouty. There's
No,
Also-
in the Long Lake Park.
there's a place near where I think the Boy Scouts were camping. Like they have a little open area.
Newtown Hill.
No, at Long Lake Park,
Oh, okay.
right
Oh,
next to the lake.
Yeah, that's the area that we're talking about, the Red Trail.
Oh, okay. Good.
They were camping in there?
A couple years ago, yeah.
They canoed out there. Remember, and we didn't allow them, or they had to be careful with fire there, but otherwise we allowed them.
I would suggest maybe with I don't know whether you have an iPhone or something of that nature where you could just take pictures of where you think it ought to go as a proposal and get back to us.
Okay.
That would be really helpful. I mean, the idea is great. It's just narrowing down the locations at this point.
And Prouty could be
about,
a place.
talking about the wilderness, you'd want it kind of geolocated somehow. You know, if she could send a pin drop on a Google map or something.
Sounds reasonable. But there is quite a bit of conservation land around town, so that you probably would be able to find different spots.
Mhm.
Oh, and Littleton Conservation Trust thought that maybe something at the Conant area
Okay.
would work too. We weren't sure how many benches you had in mind, but if you think you can do up to 10, we can come up with some more ideas. 10 might be a lot, but we'll see. See how your materials work out money-wise.
So do we need to get the consensus of opinion at the board? Would like to have this all happen? Would that be a reasonable? I don't know if we need a motion on it at this point because we don't have anything affirmative as to where stuff is going to go, but be supportive, I guess. Is that all right?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Do we need to do a roll call on that? Thing if we're not.
Did I hear a motion? Or is that enough of a consensus?
You can, maybe we should put it in a motion under the fact that we're on TV or computer.
Or you
Want to make a
can
motion?
also wait for the final. You can also wait for the final approval when we have a better idea of the locations.
Yeah.
But I think you have enough now, Stephanie, to move ahead with
Yeah.
confidence with what you got.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Guess we better move on. Signature authorization for paying Amy or any of our bills. Anna had been doing it, and I believe Andrew is the other person. So we usually have 2 people do that. So somebody want to speak up and take the responsibility on? I'm sure Amy would appreciate it.
I think it's a great opportunity to explain to Brian what that encompasses.
Yes, please.
No, let's vote him in first, and then. So whenever I get an invoice for anything that we do, anywhere from, buying pens to building a parking lot, someone on the commission has to sign off on the invoice before I can submit it. It's usually fairly straightforward. Anna's usually been doing it because when we were in person, she's sit kind of next to me. And Andrew's way the other end of the table.
Slide it over.
Now it doesn't matter.
Although one thing you do have to do is get DocuSign on your phone. It's really easy. You get an email, you click on it, and then once you set up your signature, it's really quick. Like 2 pushes of a button and you're done signing.
Yeah, sign your life away. Who would like to do that? Carl, you want to do it?
Sure, I'll volunteer.
Okay.
So I think because it's kind of the end of the year, the fiscal year anyway, we would just need to move. Andrew, you willing to keep doing this?
Absolutely.
Then I just need a motion for those 2 guys.
Somebody want to make a
Be able to
motion?
do
I'll make a motion to nominate. Is that the right word here?
Yeah. Sure.
Andrew and Carl to be signatories for invoices and other associated financial matters.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it.
Who said that?
Jim.
Okay. All right, so I'll do a roll call. Jim,
Jim, yes.
Carl,
Carl Melberg, yes.
Kyle,
Kyle Maxfield, yes.
Andrew,
Andrew Smarco, yes.
and Julie,
Julie Rupp, yes.
and Brian.
Ryan Crowley, yes.
Okay.
MACC membership and handbook.
Do you want to put off the rest of that until after the public hearing, or work our way through it now?
Why don't we put it off for now?
Yeah.
What about the boathouse and way tree cutting? What happened there?
I meant all the stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. So we jump into, what, Healy Corner? Notice of intent?
Yep, I think we got Bruce Ringwall, Sherry Gould, and Brian Beam attending.
Okay.
Bruce, you there? There he is.
I'm here. You just need to unmute me. There you go.
I'd like to open that hearing. Notice of intent, Healy Corner, 195 Tehadawon, R0710, Mass DEP file number 204-4899, construction and open space development, including tree clearing and grubbing, grading, construction of subdivision, roadway, storm water management system, septic system, multiple single-family dwellings. I guess we go forward. Somebody want to speak to it?
I would not be brought out video wise. Hello.
All I see is your
Yeah,
name.
Bruce.
You're breaking up, Bruce.
Can I be brought up? I'm out here. Ask the host to start your video. Yes, ask the. Hey, here I am. Good evening, all. It's been a while since we've been together, and wanted to do a little bit a recap. If I may share a screen. Good with you all?
Yep, you should have control, yeah.
All righty. Let's see here. That up?
There we go.
Okay.
It's up.
Sorry for the delay there. So, actually, I have one without the green that I wanted to start with. It. And I have no idea it's disappeared to. Let's try over here. No. So, zooming in on this end of the site. As I said, it's been a little bit of time. I've been out to the site in this course of time with Amy, Aaron. We've walked where the trails are. We've added the trails, Nellie's Path on the northwest side on, and John's Way all the way on down through to back here. And then there's all this chunk of back as well. Does not have a trail now that the town was interested in because of connecting to the town of Littleton land on the one side and the conservation land. In locate had a crew out to physically locate them upon flagging set out on the trail. Since this corner right here on the end of Elk Trail actually a little bit because the current trail kind of comes up and goes diagonally across right here. But to try to, in the process of all this, being a little bit smaller, and parcel A designated open space to the town, a bit larger, so the trail is entirely within the parcel A. Trails are entirely within the parcel A on both sides. We've had some a bunch of back and forth with our density yield plan and modified that a bit to the point where the planning board, where we reduced from a 17 lot development to a 16 lot development existing. So this shows the layout of the development up here, the Alfred Trail with the 2 lots back in the back. Lot 15 be roughly 7 with 16 acres of and then there's this parcel B here, which is 3.5 acres. It is not quote unquote open space, but it will remain in the drainage basin is here. The wet application is right above that on Alfred Trail. And the primary septic system is in this portion, and the rest of this will remain wooded as it is now. It's a reserve area for the septic, and then the this other area down here is wetlands and woods and upland and woods. So let's see. We had, at the last times we were together, we're trying to get the conservation restrictions into a more detailed format. Sherry, and me, and myself met with virtually or online in a Zoom meeting with the representatives from Christine from Sudbury Valley. Since that time, Sherry has incorporated a number of things that Amy brought up and Christine brought up from Sudbury trustees. Then that has gone back and forth, and those folks have all had meetings with us. I was in drafting, so they didn't need me. And they brought those conservation restrictions to the point where I believe that Chris Town Council has reviewed them and is happy with them. So it's, at a point for you folks to, whatever changes you may have. I believe Sherry forwarded the latest drafts to Amy last week. And I forwarded this plan as well. The planning board voted last week to approve the open space and definitive subdivision plan because several of them had on the site and agree that this open space is very nice, and it does indeed have a very large upland tendency to it along the edges and across the back, where a trail network can be continued from here, again, from the conservation land, from this site, across to the town of Littleton, which the Trails Committee wanted to have that linkage because they want to continue a trail to the train station and its location. So that kind of in a nutshell is where we're at, where we've come to, and turn it over to you guys for any questions.
Are the two houses, 16 and 15, are they completely out of any of the buffer zones or anything?
They are, it's kind of hard to see on here, but let me get to another plan here. Bear with me for 1 second while I bring up the plan I had up previously, and I've somehow really lost it. Hold on here.
You have to stop sharing this one. If you chose this particular thing to share, you have to unshare that one, and then in order to share a different one.
Gotcha. I lost it before I even got on the meeting. It was, for some reason, dropped off my screen. So hang on 1 second, and I'm gonna bring it right back up here. I hope I'm going to bring it right back up here. There it is. No, it's not. Board 6, 7. Here we go. All right, you got that now? So
No.
We still have the old one. There it is.
My share. Share again. Screen 2. Share. How about that? You have it now?
Not yet.
Yep.
There it is.
Now.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the 50-foot, this is the edge of the wetlands, this line right here. This is the 50-foot zone down around through here. This is the 100-foot setback right here and the 100-foot setback right here. So to answer your question, lot 16 has a little bit of the 100-foot buffer, but not much. And lot 15 has this. When you're out there, they look like very big, massive areas. But it's what it is. They're outside of they're not outside of the 100-foot entirely.
So will this have town water or have a well put in?
This will have town to the entire site, and the septic from every lot gets pumped through to a low pressure forcing, comes over to the tanks that are here, and this will be the leaching system for the entire property, including the existing house.
And all those utilities are proposed to go across that the wetland crossing?
The water, the power, and the septic, yes, we'll all have that right here in the same crossing. and they'll be above.
If I remember correctly, it's going to be an open bottom culvert. That's what I read last time.
That is correct. I remember correctly. It's been a while, yeah.
And Bruce, for the minutes, to make sure I understood, because you were coming in and out a little bit, the houses for 15 and 16 are in the 50 to 100-foot buffer zone, right?
That's correct.
Entirely? Except for a tiny bit, okay.
And Bruce, what is their square footage on the crossing now?
It is fairly small. I'm going to have to bring up a detailed plan that I believe I have up here. Let's see. All right. That plan told me. I got to go to the next sheet. All right. Working backwards, we have 1,500 square feet of wetland disturbance, and we have 3,600 square feet of replication proposed. The bulk of it is in the area below the detention basins, and then we're providing an additional 900 square foot area in adjacent to the wetlands on the finger right by the crossing, which is this little area right down. This plan is still up on your screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's still the wetland area that's there. So this is 1,500 square feet in the shadowed area. This is 2,600 square feet up here. And then this is a bigger area shown. To pick out an area on the site in between the pines and adjacent to the wetlands for an additional 900 square feet down to get your application.
Hey Bruce, I thought the area adjacent to the replication area in parcel B.
Right here?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I thought we talked, I mean, it's been a while, but I thought we talked about replication in an area that was not wooded. Is that area wooded?
This area is right on the edge of the meadow, and the trees that are in it are dead. The only thing green on them is the invasives. Sarah and I were out there, looked at it pretty closely. I think she can attest to that.
Yeah, Julie, I think in walking quite a bit of that area, we did believe that was one of the better choices there. Bruce is correct in dead standing and a good amount of invasives.
Okay, thank you. I thought at one point we were talking about replication, I think somewhere in the vicinity of lot 11 or 10 at one point. So just a clarification. It's been a while.
At one point,
I think we did, but the soils and the whole open air, I don't know that there would be enough moisture to maintain in some of those areas.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
yeah, and there's a slope there too. So
yep.
I could see.
Well, I remember being at the toe of the slope. Was this where the field transitions into forest? Right at the.
That's correct.
So I thought we liked that area because we thought it had a greater sense of potential success.
Well, there's two areas here. This area that we've chosen, after doing an additional walk from one of the meetings, is actually right at the edge of the woods. So there's going to be tree cover both the north and the south and to the west, whereby the area down here at the toe was had less, and it was on a much more of a slope, and it had no additional water for additional hydraulic conductivity into the wetlands to help maintain it. So on site, looking around, we felt that this area here, and we had about that at a couple meetings last fall.
Okay. And then that replication area that's in the forest. Yeah, that one. How many trees have to be taken down in order to create that?
None. That's this area that's shown is a substantial area. It's probably a couple thousand square feet, and we only need to get 900 square feet out of that. And there's plenty of big space in between the big, large pines that are spaced out in there, especially along the edges adjacent to the wetland. So that's an area that the reason we left it that area is because that's the pond or chunk of land that we would work within, but we want to work within that area so that no trees would have to be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I recall walking that area. I remember we had a pretty long conversation in that area during the site walk that I went to, and I recall it was pretty open. So I do remember that area being chosen.
Anybody else got any more comments?
How many trees are being cleared for the houses in the driveway and the, up to the 100-foot buffer? I mean, I'm looking at, on my other screen, a tree count, but it doesn't look like there's a tree count for the houses. Is that right?
That's correct. You wanted one for Alfred Trail and the extension of Alfred Trail, which is the common drive up through here, and what I provided. This area in here is all pretty open. No. How many trees or what would come out, because there's going to end user that, my crystal ball would locate a house and they're going to orientate it slightly different and change it slightly. I'm sure that I'll be back to the commission, exact footprint and exact whatever for the specific house on 15 and 16. That's a given, because they are in the buffer, and I couldn't tell you exactly. I mean, someone may decide to pull this house right up close to the end and keep this one right where it is, and vice versa. I would have to be new notice 10 for 15 and 16. It'd have to be. But this area in through here, it's an area that if it was logged or what, but it's easy to move around through in that whole area.
Chris, I just have a quick question. You mentioned at the start of this conversation that you successfully met with the planning board. Do you want to share with us any other comments or perhaps changes that were made to get that approval?
Well, the biggest delay that we had was the process for doing a subdivision submission is always a preliminary plan followed by a definitive plan. And the preliminary plan is based upon map record from the Registry of Deeds, assessor's maps, USGS topography, town topography, whatever you have. We had started survey, and we had picked up some of the topographic survey. We had not done the survey, so our preliminary plan was based on that, on the assessor's map. And the original preliminary yield plan, or yield, and the base subdivision plan, and this plan showed that there was more land over here on Harwood Ave. That this piece over here was about another, I want to guesstimate, 150 feet wider. It also showed back here that this parcel got into the pretty much more than it now, than it does in reality. It doesn't, nothing's changed. It's just that the assessor's maps were inaccurate, and during the process, the abutters, one of the abutters engineer brought to light that issue and the difference, and back and took the actual boundary line survey and reworked the plan. Then they had some questions because then we had some crossings in some places. So we reworked the yield plan with the planning board, so that and there used to be a reduced frontage lot that went through the wetlands here. We eliminated that. We switched it over to here. There was a lot that we looked at that came back in. Instead of crossing in this direction, it crossed this wetland and had a lot up in here. We changed that and eliminated that so that the lots were right up in this area here and in here. And I guess a third sat right where the septic system is. And then one that was back in here. And so it was back and forth. That was kind of a time frame that changed that around. And when we, in the open space development, you take your basic number of lots, which was 14, including the existing house, and you modify any lots that are quote unquote A&R lots that you choose not to build along the road, then you can get bonus lot that. And initially we had 3 bonus lots, and the board felt lots were maximum, and so that dropped us from 17 lots to 16 lots, including the existing house.
Okay, thank you.
And there was a lot of engineering questions that asked and answered. The decision was that they really wanted to have the open space and the connectors between the Littleton Conservation Trust and the town of Littleton land. And those people that had been out to the site liked the open space and felt that it was a worthwhile thing for the town. Keeping in mind that 4 acres here, there'll be 28.8 acres of restricted land, another 3.4 of open space that will have the basin and the septic and remaining open land, and then a small portion of that for the lots. There's really 32 out of 44 acres that'll be as open, untouched area.
Thank you, Bruce. And my last question, which you all touched upon with the CR. So I had a chance to kind of look at that, but I'm curious, are we at 100% agreement on the CR now between yourself and SVT?
Can I speak to that,
sure.
Bruce? Sarah, the CR was drafted, the first draft by, I think, Amy and Bruce and maybe Paul Glavey, and sent to me. I then modified it and sent it back to Amy, and then we had a working session, Amy, SVT, Myron, myself, and I believe we incorporated all the things that SVT was interested in and any of the reserved rights for the 2 lots 15 and 16 that were minimal. And then it has gone now to town council for the final review. So as far as the applicant and SVT are concerned, all of the details, I believe, have been ironed out. We're just waiting for town council to act, and it may be that the state will have some more input.
Amy, and you feel as though SVT is on concurs with that?
They absolutely want the control and the management of, they want the private conservation, excuse me, they want the one that has public access, that parcel A that the public will have access to. They want to have that owned by the Littleton town, control of the Conservation Commission, and SVT will be the recipient of the easement for the conservation restriction. And then SVT will be the recipient of the other 2 private conservation restriction areas. And yes, they're all on board.
Okay, thank you. That was helpful.
Hey, Sherry, this is Carl. That parking area that's shown, is that going to be constructed as part of this, or is that just a separate item?
No, part of it, and the planning board decision was drafted and submitted and voted, subject to final tweaking by the town council and the applicant, I suppose, and the board. The parking area is part of it. SVT and Myron, Amy, and I talked about maybe constructing the parking area last, only because we don't want to invite the public to be walking around on that ringed parcel A while the heavy construction equipment is in there, especially during the septic dig, because I don't want anyone falling or hurting themselves. But yes, it's part of the decision. And there's a threshold period. I'm trying to get it maybe by the 6th lot to have that constructed, Carl.
Thank you.
You know, I know whether
Brian has a question as well.
I do have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was actually emailing with SVT yesterday, and Krista at SVT didn't seem to me that she felt it was concluded on her end. So I just wanted to clarify that. I think you may want to talk to her before you assume that they're done with their negotiations.
Actually, I will.
I got that was an email from, I received my email from her today, actually. So, just saying.
I will speak to her. I did not get a copy of that email, but I do know that she took the last pass at the redraft, ran it by me, I approved it, and she submitted it to town council. So as far as I know, she was okay with it, but I have no problem. We'll work together on it. We have no problem with that.
Thank you.
Sherry, can I ask you clarify again when the CR would be recorded?
Town council and the board voted that the CR be recorded before construction starts, Amy. And I've emailed town council to suggest that might be impractical because we have no control over how long the state will act. So our agreement, when we talked, Amy, Myron, Krista and I, when we talked, we said it's more practical to say the SVT will be finalized by town council before construction commences, but we shouldn't have to wait for the state to act if it's all final and it's gone to the state. So we're just trying to clarify that distinction.
Or anybody else got any other input to put in?
So I know that because some of the site work is within the 50-foot buffer zone, we still need like a basis for the waiver. And I was just curious if we've got that figured out yet.
The basis for the waiver for the crossing here, and where the 50-foot buffer occurs is along lot 16 for this little portion right here, and about that last fall. We have a benefit to the open space. We have a very minimal disturbance on the site. The site currently, these fingers that are around in different areas. When you walk this trail, there are roads that cross the wetlands in numerous places that have been for years, and all that will be stopped and limited to just one designated crossing. Is the design of the culvert and the replica.
But if I remember correctly, there's a whole bunch of this development that could go on without a crossing, and you know, there, as usually in a waiver, we only allow 50-foot development if you have to go into the wetland because of setbacks, because you can't develop without doing that. That's the only way to develop the property, is to get over a wetland. But there's plenty of development in this project without having the crossing. And I remember you submitted a economic analysis that was very insufficient. It did not have the number, look like a cost benefit analysis. It was very brief and low on specifics. I know I'm not a voting member anymore, and so I have limited, effect. But I strongly feel this is a precedent for us that that we don't want to go over. Just purely, the only reason why you would go into there is economic. Otherwise, an alternatives analysis would show that you have 14 houses without going across the wetland. And you haven't shown that 14 houses is not enough economically for you to develop this. And the land is wonderful, but it violates our regulation. The development violates our regulation, and it's not enough for a waiver. And even if you develop that other way, it still would violate it. So many crossings through the 50, no matter how you develop the other way. So anyway, I voiced my objection in the final time.
So I have GPR did not prepare the economic analysis. The economic analysis, I had a lengthy conversation with you all last fall that your leaves out the section that the Protection Act has within it, front where it has a feasible alternative analysis and about them being of equal of nature. We can access, and we've shown this before, to these parcels without this crossing, but it means much more in the buffers of disturb to get up and through here, all the way up and around this parcel. It would have more distance on the site and more potential drain. This comes on down. It has a very limited area with a section in here for the drainage to be dealt with, all off out of the 50-foot zone, and addresses it and has a very minimal crossing, less than the amount of crossings that exist out there in cart roads today, and it provides a very large benefit to the community open space. this is developed as 14 regular lots in a conventional manner, there's no open space access. The land becomes such that it would all be privately owned. It'd be divided up into several different lots that would have this ownership of this land back here. There'd be no connecting link. It wouldn't be here.
But I think what might help too to provide, I guess, for me, for context is, we were having, meetings every 2 weeks, and then it kind of all of a sudden stopped. And, because we needed to see, what's being offered with respect to a CR in order to evaluate a waiver. And just to echo what, Andrew and Anna have just mentioned, we don't have a written alternatives analysis. I hear what you're saying, Bruce, and I think those are absolutely valid points, but we don't have any of that in writing, which is part of our process.
Yes, we do. I submitted it all a long time ago.
Not the alternatives analysis.
I did. I had a very detailed alternatives analysis. It had a series of diagrams that went with it. Then I was asked to do an economical analysis, and I don't have the wherewithal to do that. I don't have the number someone's going to build. I don't know if things are selling. Don't have that.
But Bruce, you're breaking up, so it's really hard for us to hear the continual sentence here. For some reason.
Well, my recollection of the alternatives analysis was it was in more from like a planning board stance. Like we were planning to do a conventional plan, and now this is the other plan, whereas the existing conditions versus the new conditions.
Right.
And that was something that we had asked for. And then the economic analysis happened, and then we stopped. There were a ton of questions around zoning. I personally think, the offer of land is valuable. That's why, I think the, evaluation of the CR and the evaluation of land is a valuable thing. But part of the process for a waiver is an alternatives analysis compared to existing conditions, and based on environmental, not, the conventional plan versus the open space plan, which again, it's been a while that I did go back through the documentation to try to locate it. So forgive me if I didn't locate the proper thing, but I think again, the valuable piece of the context is that we got this really big gap. We had a ton of conversations. We had a productive site visits. We had productive conversations, and, there's a large offer of land on the table. There's linkages and trails on the table for us to consider, but a required part of the process is the alternatives analysis based on existing conditions. And I don't believe we have that. I looked through at what we had and what we had asked you before, because, again, the analysis was more from a planning board based standpoint versus what our process is.
Yeah, that is a really good point, Julie. And I totally agree. And that's why I really objected to the alternatives analysis before, is that it was a whole different plan, but what we're talking about and what we go through with every single applicant is alternatives to get out of the 50. Okay, and you're doing a wetland crossing. Okay, so but you haven't presented a plan, a current plan with this configuration to try to get you out of the 50. You have not done that. You have not presented a plan that doesn't include these two houses that go across the wetland. And you have 14 other houses that are being built besides those two. And so this is not the least environmentally damaging alternative. It's not. And so I just cannot see how we could justify it with according that it's an alternatives analysis that has that conclusion.
So, all documentation that submitted and tries to follow along with your lines. You have, I can have it. We could continue the discussion at your next meeting if that's what you wish. And again, commission members out to the site that want to walk the trails and look at open space and see all the upland space that's here and the value that it has and the connections.
We're not disputing the value of the land.
I said I would bring forward the material.
Bruce said, I think that
You
would be
broke up there,
helpful.
Bruce. What-
Oh, go ahead. I took a pretty thorough look, you know, because it's been a while, so I took a real thorough look through, and then was trying to find the NOI and looked back through that shortly before the meeting. So I feel as though I have a good handle on the information, but you know, I'm happy. I am always 100% happy to be pointed to specific information. And I do, again, think it's important to, you know, we were really in the middle of our conversation about this project when it got completely derailed by the zoning process. And so I do think we will need at least one additional meeting to, you know, continue talking about this. I'm happy to head back out to the site if there are more things that you think I should see. I'm happy to go look.
Good. I'm up with that.
So basically, it's up to Bruce to come up with some more information. Is that what the board wants?
Bruce, I have a quick question for you. Can you clarify something you said? Were you saying that if the lots 15 and 16 do not get developed as part of this project, that either A, the project won't go forward, or B, the conservation land, you know, the CRs and open space, those will not exist?
That's right. It'd be developed in a conventional manner. All the land would be privately owned.
No, if you eliminate those two houses, it doesn't mean that it will be developed in a conventional manner.
Yes, it will.
Yes, it does.
Why?
Because it's not cost effective to do it in.
Well, that's what you need to show in your economic analysis.
All right, we'll bring it back, Bruce.
Yep.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's just a matter of documenting the alternatives analysis in writing, which was a spot we never fully got to when the hearings stopped.
Continue it.
So I'm assuming we want to continue this to the next meeting? Okay.
Please.
Which should be July 27th. Amy, is that what would be?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
In particular time, Amy, or?
Okay.
I think he was asking about the same time, Amy.
I'm sorry, say again?
Was there a particular time for the 27th, Amy?
There's a, there wasn't, tree removal, 7:45 in RDA, because I had to put that in the paper, so I had to give them a time, so it'll be right after that, 8 o'clock, to be confirmed.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. Look forward to talking with you. And I'll send out an invitation to if anybody from the commission wants to go back on.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, guys.
Nights.
All right. I guess we move on to the next issue. Right. looks like it's the continued discussion of enforcement order of 54 Bruce Street. Or did that get continued to the July 27th too?
That got continued. He does have Chuck Karen under contract, and Chuck is writing his report, but it wasn't ready yet.
Okay. So we go back to the administrative discussion, I guess?
Yep.
Where'd we leave off? The Boathouse Way tree cutting
The MACC membership,
handbook.
who wants the electronic handbook? Does anybody? Julie? Brian? Kyle? Andrew?
I'll take one.
There.
Amy, didn't we sign up for that? Do we have to re-sign up?
That was
for
everybody.
Yeah.
It's only good for a year. They get you coming and going.
Last year, didn't we talk about doing like a town email address for like the sign up for it, just so we wouldn't have to buy like 7 individual ones? Like we were going to be sneaky and just have like one password with one email?
Well, obviously they do not like that. Let me poke around with some other commissions and see if anybody has come up with a way of doing that.
Okay.
I think a lot of times it's tied to the email address that you have, but let me check.
Okay.
Carl, did you want one or not?
Yes, I'd like one.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess
the boathouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The Boathouse Way tree cutting. Excuse me, I had this on there before I quite realized what they were doing. This is down by Cottage Way, Sarah Indian Road. The hemlocks in there are in bad shape, and a lot of them are dying. And I think it was Mr. Willis wants to take down some of them are dead and clean out the area. There are some power lines. I agree, it probably needs to be done. I thought it might just be 1 or 2, so I want to check with you guys what you thought about it, but it's more like 10. So I was going to suggest he filed an RDA. So we know what's going on.
Okay.
Are they, I guess something related to that, is it possible to, like, I think people are home a lot, and I mean, we've probably had 2 lots almost clear cut, just people, because they, I guess, have time and are taking down dozens and dozens and dozens of trees. So I've had neighbors bring me birds, baby birds that are, falling out of the trees and have been helping with connecting to rehabbers. Can we, and I think there are regulations with respect to migratory bird, and that type of thing, but it seems like unless it's a hazard tree, could we start just steering people a little bit out of nesting and baby season for tree clearing? It just seems like it's just kind of a lot, especially this year. But just as a best
Amy,
practice.
is there any discussion of replanting as well?
With the Boathouse Way, it hasn't come up yet. He said it's something he's planning on. I said I'd check with you guys, and then I realized how many trees he's really talking about. So I think it's an RDA anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, ditto. Someone's got 10, I think, something ash trees that the Emerald Ash Borer got into that she's got to take down. So she's coming in with an RDA in 2 weeks on that one.
That disposal as well. So,
as long as they stay in, from what I understand, as long as they stay in the town, most of what she wants to do with the Emerald Ash Borer is just going to be held in place, but maybe take out, the top mess.
The other thing we should start paying attention to is any long-eared bat habitat. I'm not sure if there is any in this area, but especially with when we allow tree cutting.
Yeah, the entire area, Carl, pretty much our whole town is mapped for northern long-eared bat. I dealt with it quite a bit for some stormwater permitting. for industrial projects. It's pretty much mapped all over the place in the northeast.
That's a major issue at Fish and Wildlife right now, and especially when it comes to mature trees being taken down, and also time of year. So we should try and get a handle on that.
It sounds.
Do you have anything?
Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, Carl, do you have anything specific on that in terms of time of year you could send me, or
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
you got something handy?
That might be a nice link as a resource for people for tree cutting. Yeah. So we're talking about nesting birds, just like the tall grasses. But Carl, that might be, if we can even come up with a link that we can add on our website, that would be helpful.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not sure. Are you sure about the emerald ash borer? Because I know that there's an Asian longhorn beetle, destructive area near Worcester.
Regulated area. The EAB regulated area is so large that it's not the same as the ALB. Sorry to use the abbreviations. Asian longhorn beetle regulated zone is a much tighter quarantine because it hasn't escaped, so to speak. So that is in the process of being eradicated. Whereas the emerald ash borer moves so fast that the regulated areas are so large that essentially, you don't want to move firewood in the first place. But the wood would still be in essentially the regulated area. But essentially, we should be encouraging people to use it in place. And again, the town common, is one of these issues. And if we could get people involved, to even just start utilizing that wood for something, maybe we use those ash pieces for making these benches, or use it in the town. Again, like you said, the environmental impacts of whatever it is that we choose to do. Let's not ship the wood out, drive it across country, and do all these things. Let's get some plans together and some education together for using wood in place, I would say. And then also, just to take one step further with my usual plug, probably should be advocating more, not just in terms of, cutting trees at appropriate times, but, why are we cutting in the first place? Like Julie said, around my neighborhood, it's the same thing. People are home, they're gardening, they're trimming, there's not going to be anything left if everyone stays at home much longer. So tree retention is a really huge part of what we do. We do replanting, but the major portion of the ecosystem services that we get are the mature trees. So having those retained and not just replaced with one small tree. All the habitat that's lost, all the cooling effects that lost, it's all cumulative, and it's so much easier and quicker to lose than it is to gain. So if we could get something in place for, advocating for retention of trees, and these are all the benefits. This is why it's helping you. This is why it's cooling our neighborhoods, protecting our water, cleaning our air. I'm hoping to, do more of this through the shade tree. It's just, it's been difficult with all the COVID going on at the moment. So.
Any more discussion?
I guess one thing I'll point out is for projects that have to do the construction stormwater permit, they have to check a box that says, are there T&E species in your area? And so they have to say yes for the northern long-eared bat. The EPA, which administers the permits, has a specific process for the long-eared bat. So most of the time, applicants don't have to do much to address it, but it is a conversation point, that they do need to address it somehow. And I think, we're under tremendous development pressure, and, it seems like a lot of the areas identified for development are treat areas, not, redeveloping already developed areas. So I think, some education, I guess, Carl, if you can pull some stuff together, I can certainly pull information just out of those permits, which actually have quite a bit of it. They have mapping and, and then maybe Matthew, do you have habitat value information? I mean, it just seems like we can have, even just in conversations with people with their permits, we could, just educate a little bit and, make people at least look into it and have a more thoughtful process.
There's been a lot of conversation in the lake area about building bat houses and what the best way to how to build them. So, I mean, we could put out information on how best to build a bat house for a long-eared bat.
I think also it's an opportunity where we have the scouts coming in. You know, you can talk about this with the bat boxes and the owl boxes. All these things can be put up. So I think our eye tends to gravitate towards, you know, the benches and the things that are at the lower accessible level. But you guys have been very compelling with that. And it makes me think of how compelling it was to start the dialogue with the pollinators. So if we can replicate your passion for that with the bats and everything else, I think you can have a kind of a wish list for these kids that are coming in that want projects. I've been on a long time and I haven't heard anyone do anything to help with the owls as well. So that's something that's important to us here at camp, but you know, it's part of our conversation for sure.
Yep, I agree.
The long-term goal before I leave is maybe to try to get a osprey nesting platform up at Long Lake.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if that ever happens. But
well, just talk to Dustin.
oh yeah, no, he's the one who first came up with it when I started working here.
Oh yeah, he builds them. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, should I move along?
Yes. Mass DOT. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. This is the area kind of across from 9 Air, where there's some of the erosion and the cutting. How would you want to handle that? They do need to clean sediment out of the wetland. Do you want a filing? Do it as an enforcement order? Let them clean up their own mess?
Wait, I didn't realize the sediment got into the wetlands at 9 Air.
No, across from
No.
This is
Not
the
from
other,
the construction.
right. The road is caving in basically.
Oh.
It's really
It
bad.
looks like they dug it out, honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it caved in. It looked like somebody dug it, so that drained.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like the road would collapse. Like if a truck, you know, has to take it wide over there, it honestly looks like the road could be undermined. It's really bad. And then there's a fan out into the wetland. And so that's the storm drain, just up gradient of the storm drain that we were looking at 9 Air that had some sediment going into it.
So would that be the town then?
Yeah, well, it's
No, it's DOT.
Yes.
Can we put an enforcement order on DOT? Because I'm concerned about their timeline, like
Yeah,
legitimately.
Or do we really? Will this happen quickly if we just ask them to come in and let's do a permit and whatnot?
I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Is just ask them first.
Oh, I already asked them, and they said they do have a fix in mind. I was like, well, don't go out there and start messing around until you at least have a permit or the Conscom knows what you're going to do. So they kind of have an idea and are ready to move ahead. I just wasn't sure how you want to do that. Because they are going to have to get in there and pull stuff out of the wetland.
Yeah, there's quite a bit in there.
So talking about, I mean, that area where 9 Air is, I just, when I was on my way to the dump the other day, I just glanced over and there's more work going on in the front of that property. I didn't take a close look at it, but has anybody been over and looking at that project at all? Because it's definitely been more material moved towards Air Road.
If it's, I noticed excavation adjacent to the scale area to the left. That was like a week or more ago. But that area is outside the scale is outside the 100-foot.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as it's not contributing with inside the 100-foot, that's all I was really concerned about.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. They were excavating when I was going by, so I don't know if anything else is. It's been a couple weeks since I've been by there.
Is some of the cleaning up they want to do, it seems like it's stuff that's coming from up above the water department. That's a lot of silting, that stuff that comes across there. I believe.
The DOT's runoff is coming from the other direction. It's not coming from the water department direction.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the other side,
from town.
like towards the gas station. Like towards the gas station side.
no, it's
Water department
more towards Middlesex. It's up in that area more. If you look at it, it's more of a cloudy and silty. It's up near a new estate. In the swamp there, you can see. I think there's a catch basin or something there just above the parking lot on the Light and Water Department. I think that's something that comes across into the swamp there.
They have two detention basins at Highway and Light and Water.
I think there is
discharge
something that goes across there, Jim. There's like that little stream as you turn into Light and Water. There's a stream to the left of the driveway if you're turning in. And I think there is a storm drain that goes across there. I think that was one of the things that was pointed out.
That looks more sediment up in there, but maybe some of it's because it's all silted in over the years too.
Yep. Yeah, so the DOT area is the other direction, and it's like I'm afraid the road's going to collapse. Are they aware that the road's going to collapse?
They sent their guy out to take a look at it. So do you want me to just oversee their work? Do you want to enforce an order? Do you want to know intent from them? Where do you want to head with it?
I'd like to hear what they're doing. If they're to act, that's one thing. But I think they should come in front of us and at least lay out their plan.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You're going to have to ask for a notice of intent then. You'll specifically need to make a request.
I think an NOI is definitely the great way to handle this.
There you go.
Seems like anything we did up on Route 2, we had them doing an NOI on catch basins and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true.
If you're just fixing the drainage, that's one thing, and they can just do that almost as of right. But they have to get into the wetland to pull that stuff out. So. Right.
Okay. 86 Colonial Drive restoration update.
Just to let you know, I got their most recent restoration monitoring report, and it seems to be doing fine. So I had double checked. I think they've got at least this fall to go through, and then maybe they'll be ready for a certificate of compliance.
Okay. Enforcement order, Scott Grove.
When they last came in and you issued the order conditions and the enforcement order, they had said that he would start by the end of April to pull the material out. And I haven't heard a word. I called Matt Morrow, the consultant, and he said he hasn't really been able to get hold through to Peter Scott on it. And I did send Peter an email earlier this week asking for an update for tonight, and I didn't hear anything. So I don't know how you want to proceed at this point. Send him a letter, turn this over to DEP, whatever you think the best way to go.
I actually was wondering about that, how that was going, and assumed that, there was some COVID delays have kind of happened all over the place. I guess my feeling is, work should be starting imminently by now. I think, especially since
it's dry enough.
He was going to do the work himself.
Right. No, I know he was going to do the work himself, but I could see if, Pat wasn't able to get there because Pat needed to do the oversight. That was one of our conditions.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, Matt's ready. Matt's ready to go.
Matt's ready to go. Okay. Did he?
Sounds like Matt hasn't heard from him either. Then, from what you're saying.
Okay.
The order of conditions has not been recorded. Matt has it in order to record it, but he needs the fees from Peter Scott before he can do that and can't get them.
Well,
Like
you
there's been
think we
plenty.
ought to at least talk to DEP? At this point, maybe?
I mean, we've been working with him. He has been kind of working along. I don't know. We keep working with him. I have no idea. I mean, I kind of like to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I hate to say it, but
It's been 2 years.
Yes, for how long? I mean, granted, we don't know what's going on with him personally right now, but if he's going to use Amy and his consultant, then
I'm trying to, I want to make, what's the easiest way to get the job done? I guess that's my concern. Is it us working with him, or?
Would it pay to talk to the circuit rider and see what her advice is?
Yeah, I can certainly see. I think DEP would, I'm guessing, be more than happy to at least write a letter encouraging him to do what he's supposed to do.
Well, that wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. All right, I'll call the circuit rider and see what she has to say. Or Denise.
Yeah, it's not Judy anymore. It's Kim, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Or Denise Child. Also.
A license?
Yeah, I assumed Sarah was gonna review the contract, and I got the mowing report from SVT. I just got it. What is today? I got it Friday, I guess. So I'm gonna take a look through it, and then I might circulate it to see if you guys have any comments. Then we just finish that piece of it.
Okay. Other updates, administrative action. You got anything?
Now that you're leaving, Anna, I'm gonna meet Corey and his new employee Thursday out at the Frog Pond, and the new guy is gonna take over getting that cleaned out.
Okay.
That may be a place for bench.
Right.
You're on mute, Anna. Anna, you're muted. You're trying.
Sorry about that. We had a tour of the lake the other week with Corey, looking at the level of the lake too, and there was a question that came up as to whether or not, because they had an original permit to lower the lake level, since there are now a lot of objections to the condition of the lake now, which is really low, whether they would need a permit modification to raise the level of the lake to reposition the beaver deceiver to raise the float so that it will be higher than what they had originally planned.
I think you need to go and talk to those furry engineers.
Would they need a modification though of their permit that was originally for lowering it?
Probably. I would think so, because if you're going to raise it, then the concern for and the reasons put forth for lowering it had to do with people's septic system, groundwater encroaching on septic systems, people losing their, property lines and that type of thing. But I'm glad someone's looking at that. I've been kayaking, I've taken my boys to the beach a handful of times, and it's pretty gamey already. It's not usually gamey this early in the year. There's that algal bloom we had, and there's definitely some, algae fringe that, was not present in prior years. And, obviously it's been drier. So when we get rain, you're really washing a lot of crap into the lake.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably more because, and there's been a lot of back and forth about this because people do relate the lake level to the algae, but really the algae part would be due to higher nutrients, which are not related to really the level of the lake, but definitely the macrophytes. People were also noticing there are a lot more macrophytes growing on the edge, but as long as the macrophytes aren't invasive and don't impede recreation, they're considered a natural part of the lake.
Anna, what is the level that they're looking to come back to raise it to? Is that a historic norm level, or are we now looking to raise it to a level that we're not familiar with consistently?
There's been a lot of back and forth about that too, about what's natural for the lake, because what has brought it to the previous high was a beaver dam, and a lot of people said, well, that's natural. And people liked that level because they could take their boats right out easily out from all of the docks. And now the level is so low, and actually Corey said that it's lower than they can fix with the beaver deceiver. So it's actually at a natural low right now. It's just nothing we can do. Even if we raise the beaver deceiver, it would still be low. So, but people were still not liking it even higher than it is now. So in answer to your question, it's always been this low or up to higher than it was. So it's at, even if we raised it another foot to even 2 feet, it would still be below the level that it was before they lowered it. They were supposed to just lower it 6 inches, but it went all the way to, there was a break in the dam and it lowered all at once to at least a foot.
Wow.
What I heard. And then people didn't like it. So,
well, and that's a problem. A 6-inch lowering of the water, because it is so shallow, especially around the beach, really chases the edge of the water out.
Yeah.
So
and actually, the park and rec, when I say people don't like it, people away from the beach don't like it. The beach actually is bigger, and the park and rec like it. So there's a competing recreation interest. You've got the people who want to go out of their docks, and you have the people who want more beach. So it's a lot of back and forth that we're having. But I think in the end, people are liking the slightly higher level than it ended up ultimately being.
Well, if that beaver dam gets a lot more hydroelectric head up behind it, and there's nothing maintaining it, the lake could get a lot lower.
Yes, well, that's another thing they were saying, that it could blow completely. The beaver dam could just blow, and then it would be back to, I guess there are a set of rocks that are on the other side of the lake that used to be coming out of the water a long time ago, before the beaver. And it would go back to that way, which is even lower than it is now. So, yeah, I guess it was almost like, I mean, it is Long Pond. It's a pond, not a lake technically. But,
so it's kind of up to Mother Nature to set it then. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I mean, it could happen because they're saying there's beaver activity, but the beavers aren't focusing on that dam. And then people said, well, why don't you just remove the beaver deceiver? Because then they'll fix the dam. So
I guess back to the original question at hand, if we're gonna raise the water level, I would say a permit modification would, needs to happen, to cover all the bases. That's my opinion.
How do they go about raising the level?
I think until we get some rain, drastically amount of rain, you're not going to do much of anything.
Okay, so they're talking
dry,
naturally raising it. They would just allow it to raise with whatever rainwater.
Yeah.
Definitely we need rain at first, but I guess even, I mean, in anticipation of the rain, to just adjust the level of the float for the beaver deceiver another foot, or whatever they need to get 6 inches below what it was with the dam normally.
Well, I guess the question is who is deciding what level to put it at? Is it Parks and Rec? Is it the people with the dock? I mean, this was
It was
water department.
Clean Lakes Committee
Clean
with
Lakes, yeah.
with Corey. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be an
Right.
environmental decision, which is why I think that the permit should include it. If someone, and it's exactly what Kyle said. Well, how are you going to do it? And if something else needs to happen in addition to manipulating the beaver deceiver, certainly we would want to have a conversation about that and hear about that. So it seems to me that it's an environmental decision, and so the permit should reflect that.
But it's on Clean Lake to do it.
Right.
I mean, did it sound like Clean Lakes was going to do anything? Or are they just taking comment, sort of?
They wanted to know the process that they would have to go through, but they also want to collect water quality data. And Corey was going to do that. He was going to collect data, and then they would come with the data to perhaps modify the height.
I would think you'd have to have some sort of an outflow a little bit to keep the algae and stuff moving out.
Yeah, the lake does not have a lot of flushing. It apparently, according to the CLC, it only, he said every 6 months or something does it actually exchange all the water in the lake. So I guess that's a low flushing comparatively.
But with this hot weather the way it is, I would think that could kind of pollute the thing, and just in general, just because it's so stagnant.
Yeah, and if the water level's low, it definitely will have a higher concentration of all the influx of the septic systems around the lake.
Right.
So more likely to have algae.
Well, and we know that Long Pond is impaired for DO. That's one of the impairments.
Yeah. Yep.
So lower water levels and certainly low residence time impact that. I mean, I notice every year by August, the lake gets pretty gamey.
Yes.
It's a little less interested in getting in it at that point.
And in the spring, we often have fish kill. Oh, somebody recently was also noticing dead clams at the lake. Interestingly.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I did see some of those on the edges.
That might be. They had an algae bloom recently. I wonder if it has because of the toxicity impacted the clams.
Have they been testing the lake for bacteria so they know where they're at with that?
Yeah, they usually test the lake weekly, according to the Bureau, Board of Health regs. I should say the Department of Public Health regs. So,
Yeah, the beach was closed for a little bit.
Yeah, they closed it one day because of the bloom, but then the next day it was back open. But we have not seen the results of that testing, so we don't know if it was microcystin or one of the other ones. Because apparently in the Northeast we've got a majority of not microcystin. It's more anatoxin, which is a different algae, a cyanobacteria, I should say.
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of waiting for information from Clean Lakes or what have you. Was that kind of where we're at right now? To what they would propose?
Yeah, for the height of the lake, yeah, they'd like the water quality data, but they also have to know whether they have to come in for a permit modification. So,
yeah. And of course, there's also any number of docks out there that aren't permitted, licensed, and are on town property. So
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people store their boats on the town property as well.
Park their cars. Yep.
Their cars, right? Yeah.
You tried to change that. I think you'd have mutiny.
Yeah. Maybe.
So I guess we're kind of leaving that as to have Somebody give us some more information? Is that where we'd kind of be at?
I'll talk to Corey when I see him on Thursday.
Okay.
So if there's no other things that need to be discussed, do I hear anything? If not, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn? But I'd like to thank Anna for all her services that she did over the last few years. On behalf of the board members anyway.
I second that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We'll definitely second
Third.
Here, here, here.
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
job, Anna.
agree.
We're gonna miss
Can I
her.
keep sending?
You have big shoes to fill, Brian.
Sounds like it.
I must say you are, the best group of people to work with. I've really learned a lot, and thank you as well. It's been great working with you.
Well, you're still gonna be an associate, so you're still around for a little bit.
For a little bit, yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, it will be until August, I think.
There's actually no residency requirement for associates, Anna.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Anna has nothing else to do with her time.
So what
Oh.
part of the air are you moving to?
Near Sandy Pond. It's like it's right. It's on the edge of Littleton and Air. It's like it's half a mile from Sandy Pond.
Nice.
On
Didn't-
Sandy Pond Road?
It's off of Sandy Pond Road. No, it's off of Central Street. It's like the Mountain Laurel Road. Do you know that one?
No.
It's off of Central. It's like this big loop. It looks like one of the developments we probably wouldn't build anymore. I felt kind of guilty about it. I said, "Oh my gosh, this is probably a house that I wouldn't have wanted."
Is there a wetland crossing at the bottom of the road? I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah, it has a lot of conservation land around it, so I'm looking forward to exploring around there. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Here a second.
second.
All those in favor?
I'll do a roll call. Jim,
Yes.
Carl,
Carl Melberg, yes.
Kyle,
Maxfield, yes.
Andrew,
Andrew, yes.
Julie,
Julie Rupp, yes.
and Brian.
Brian Crowley, yes. Great meeting, everyone.
Good meeting you too.
Yes, sir.
Welcome again.